What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Midterm Rental Show. I'm your host, Bailey Kramer, and this episode is going to be different. It's going to be real estate related, and of course, midterm rental related, but I want to talk about real estate in comparison to what happened yesterday with Indiana winning the National Football College Championship. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so if you don't watch football, don't worry, this will still be applicable to you guys, but if you don't know, yesterday, Indiana played Miami in the national championship for college football. And my throat actually hurts from screaming at the TV, and my fingers actually hurt because I was clapping so loudly. So, to say the least, I was really into the game. But I didn't go to Miami for school, and I didn't go to Indiana for school. So, I really had no true connection to either team. But I was so into it, and I was rooting so hard for Indiana. And after reflecting why, I found some really important things that touched me that I think will touch you guys as well. And I would say the first thing is I do have some connection to Indiana. That is where all my properties are at. And funny enough, the second property I bought, I used the IU credit union, the Indiana University Credit Union, to finance my property. But they told me there was two conditions to be able to use the credit union. The first was I had to live in Indiana, which I didn't. Or the second one is I had to be an Indiana University alumni, which again, I wasn't. But this was again 2 or 3 years ago at this point. The bank basically walked me through how to sign up to become an Indiana alumni, which took like literally a few minutes and cost me no money. But ever since a couple of years ago, I'm technically part of the Indiana Alumni Association. But anyways, I digress. What really got me so into this game and rooting so hard for Indiana was a few things. Number one, the story of the coach, Curt Cignetti. And again, you don't have to like football or be into football to appreciate this, but here's just the quick rundown on him as a coach. He was an assistant coach for one of the greatest coaches of all time, which his name is Nick Saban at Alabama. And this coach, Curt Cignetti, basically worked under Nick Saban for several years and learned so much under him and won a lot. And it was, from what Curt said, a super great experience. But Curt always wanted to be the head coach, but he wasn't going to be able to do that at Alabama, at least not at the time. So what Curt Cignetti did is he took a pay cut. Literally, he got paid less than half of his wage to go be the head coach of a different school that was way, way worse than Alabama. And this guy, at the time he did it, he was like 50 years old. He had a family, and he took a massive, massive risk. And long story short, he absolutely dominated the head coaching position and slowly worked his way up into better and better schools until he landed at Indiana, which even when he got there was not a good football school at all. And they were actually the worst football school in history, statistically. And he was able to turn it around and bring a national championship to the school and to the team within 3 years of being there. So from the story of just the coach alone, the amount of risks that he took, not only on him personally, like he took massive bets on himself by taking massive pay cuts, going to way worse schools to get higher positions. And he just continued to grind and work every single day. And his results clearly showed for it. And one of my favorite lines when he got to Indiana, one of the reporters said, "Hey, Curt, why do you think you can turn around this football program?" And all he said was, "I win, Google me," which just showed how mentally tough this guy was. And he had the track record to prove it. Now, I can't directly relate my story to the coach of Indiana's football team, but just hearing his story and saying it out loud does remind me of the time when I dropped out of college. Very similar to the coach, I could have just gotten a nice, comfy job and worked my way up and everything would have been great. But like what the coach of Indiana, Curt Cignetti, did, I dropped out, which was a very unpopular thing to do. And I started grinding on my own businesses and clawed myself up to where I am now. And don't get me wrong, I'm super proud of the risk that I took. And I know the pressure that was on me. I know everything that was involved, but something about seeing somebody else do it, like again, the coach of Indiana, seeing him do it and watching his story, it brings me chills because again, not apples to apples, but I see some of me inside of him. And I really don't hype myself up much, but I like hyping other people up. So when I see him, I just love rooting for him. And maybe that's because low key I'm rooting for me, but I just see me and him. So I'm just rooting super hard. Okay, so that's the first comparison I want to make. The second comparison I want to make is the Indiana football team as a whole had 0 5-star recruits. In really easy language, they had no people on their roster that was highly recruited or highly sought after coming out of high school. And what's cool about that is there's teams out there in college that have so much more money, so much more resources, so much more history, that have the resources to bring on the quote unquote top guys that give them the quote unquote best chance to win. And Indiana took a different approach. They said, listen, we don't have the most money, the most talent, the most experience, the most history, all this stuff. But what we do have is the grit to go out there, work our butts off, and lay it all on the line. And as I relate that to me and just real estate in general, and this is something that a lot of you guys might relate with as well, but I didn't come from a family who has real estate experience or a family who just handed me money or anything like that. So again, when I see Indiana's team, and even in high school and college, I was never the smartest one in the class. Don't get me wrong, I worked hard and I got good grades, but I was nowhere near the smartest in the group. But just like Indiana showed in this football game, it's not about having the quote unquote top people or top recruited people, but they really showed what the work ethic, teamwork, and consistency can do. And again, for me, that's just how I feel with even my real estate journey. I'm not your stereotypical guy who just was handed anything to build the real estate portfolio I had. I grinded for it. I worked for it. I sacrificed for it. And yeah, just seeing Indiana's team and then seeing them celebrate at the end and just how they play. Again, I think it was just another thing where I saw myself in them, although I don't play football, just for the record. But yeah, it was really cool seeing them play and work hard out there and of course win when they were the underdogs. I could probably make a lot more comparisons, but I want to make just one more, which is being able to risk it all. So starting with Indiana football, if you didn't watch the game, their quarterback made an unbelievable play on 4th down. I'm not going to go into too much detail because if you didn't watch it, you probably don't actually care that much. But long story short, he made an unbelievable run and then dove into the end zone and got absolutely hammered by the other team's player. The other team essentially rammed him right in the back, and the quarterback didn't care because he got a touchdown. It was for the team, and that was the goal. So he was willing to put everything on the line to get that touchdown. And then after the game, the reporters asked him about that play and him literally risking his body because he could have gotten easily injured. I don't know how he didn't, but he easily could have gotten injured. And the reporter said something like, hey, what was going through your mind during that play? And he said something to the effect of, I'll do whatever it takes to win. I don't care if I get hit from the front, from the back, from the side. I don't care what happens. If I have the opportunity, I'm going for it. And that obviously hits home with a lot of things I already mentioned in the story. But just having that mindset of being willing to risk it all has been, I think, the common denominator for my success so far in my young career. And then also people that I see and work with as well. Like I talk with people about getting into real estate and me coaching them or them joining my done for you midterm rental offer. And it's very clear to see who are the people that are willing to take a risk and who are the people who just don't want any risk versus the people who just don't want any risk. And I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong, because the beauty is you can live your life however you want. But just like the Indiana quarterback, he was willing to risk it all on the line. I've personally emptied my bank account several times to buy investment properties, taking massive risks. So I see the power in it. And when I saw him say those words again, it just put something in me and reminded me of all the risks that I've taken, not physically, but financially. And yeah, it was just really cool to see. So I could probably go on for a lot longer because I can't even express how happy I am for those football players, how happy I am for Indiana. And I know how good it feels because although, again, I'm not an athlete, I'm not a football player, their storyline, I just see so much of my story in there. And I'm sure if you guys are listening to this, you guys probably see at least a glimpse of you inside a football team like that. Because at the end of the day, they are winners. They did what it takes to win. And they basically gave the blueprint, which is what I'm basically sharing with you, of what they did. It's not about being the top recruited or being the smartest or having the most money or coming from the best financial position. It's not about any of that. It's simply about how hard are you going to work and what are you willing to do and what risks are you willing to take to get to that next level. So I hope you guys got value out of this podcast. If you did, shoot me a message on Instagram. Let me know that you listened to this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.